Okay, so here we go with the solutions. Right, so first question, Jack's got a fair six-sided spinner. He's going to spin it once. The spinner will land on one of the colours. Draw a circle around the word best. Describe, remember, describe, so we can actually use a word, okay, the following events. It will land on white. So white happens once, 1 out of 6, okay, so that's going to be unlikely because it can happen, but it doesn't have much of a chance. It will land on red, okay, so how many reds have I got? I've got 1, 2, 3, 3 out of 6, which is the same as a half, so that's going to be even. Okay, it will land on a pink. Well, there aren't any pinks, so it's got to be impossible. Okay, next question. Here's a different one. Jack's going to spin it once. The spinner is more likely to land on blue than red. Okay, so I've got 1, 2 reds, so I've got to have more blues than I do red. So if I change my pen to blue, we can look at that. So I've got a blue there. So another blue would make it the same amount of blues. Another blue would make it 3 blues and 2 reds. But if I put another red in, it's not going to work. I could leave it like that and just a space, or another blue as well. Okay, so we've written the missing colours. Okay, next question. Here's a fair-sided spinner. It can land on blue, or on red, or on green. It spins the spinner once. On the probability scale marked with a cross, the probability it's going to land on red. Okay, so red's here. I've got 1 red out of 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be, oh no, hang on, I've done it wrong. I've got 2 reds. So 2 out of 4, which is the same as a half. So I'm going to mark my cross there on a half. On the probability scale, mark a cross, the probability will land on yellow. Well, there aren't any yellows, so it's impossible, so it must be 0. Okay, on the probability scale, mark with a cross the probability that it will not, this is reading the question, land on green. Okay, I've got 1 green here. Okay, let me just show you there. 1 green. So I've got 3 that are not green. So 3 not green out of 4. Okay, so if I made my probability line into 4, then 3 out of 4 is going to be there. Okay, next question. Some boys and girls in a classroom. Probability of picking at random a boy is 1 out of 3. What's the probability of picking a girl? Well, it must add up to 1, and 1 is the same as 3 out of 3. So what do I have to add to 1 out of 3 to make 3 out of 3? It must be 2 out of 3. So the probability is 2/3. Question 4. Jessica's going to an activity centre. She can choose to do one of the 3 morning activities and one of the 3 afternoon activities. List all the possible combinations. So they've started off with cookery and hockey. So cookery and hockey, cookery and acting, or cookery and swimming. Let's start with the painting now. Painting and hockey, painting and acting, and painting and swimming. And lastly, I can do football and hockey, I can do football and acting, and I can do football and swimming. Okay, nice marks. Question 5. Liam throws a fair coin once. On the probability scale, mark with a cross the probability that he gets a head. So he can get a head, or he can get a tail. So the probability is 1 out of 2. Anne rolls a fair dice once. Mark with a cross the probability that she gets a 7. Well, a dice only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, so it's actually impossible. Fred throws a fair coin and rolls a fair dice. List all the possible combinations. The first one's been done for you. So they've had a H for heads and T for tails. Okay, so I'm going to say that to the examiner, a head and a 2. A head and a 3, a head and a 4, a head and a 5, and a head and a 6. Or I can have a tail and a 1, a tail and a 2, a tail and a 3, a tail and a 4, a tail and a 5, and a tail and a 6. Lastly, write down the probability that Fred gets a head and an even number. So my even numbers are 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. So I've got a head and a 2 there, a head and a 4 there, and a head and a 6 there. So that's actually 3 out of how many have I got altogether? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 3 out of 12. Next question. Tim plays a game. He can win, okay, he can lose, and he can draw. So I'm going to put D for draw. Probability that he's going to win, 0.25. Lose, oh, don't be put off by the fact it's X. Okay, give an expression for the probability that he will draw. So, to work this out, we know that they've all got to add up to 1. So, to win is 0.25. To lose is X, don't be put off. And if we put draw as being D, we know they must all add up to 1. What I want is to say what's the probability of drawing. So if I draw, it must be 1. I'm going to take everything to the side, so I'm going to take off 0.25 from this side. I'm going to take off X from this side, so I have to take it off from the other side. So 1 minus 0.25 is 0.75. So my expression is 0.75 minus X. Okay, Tim plays 240 times. Work out an estimate for the number of times he will win. So you do 240. We've said here that the probability of winning is 0.25. So times by 0.25, which is a quarter. So a quarter of 24 is 6. Okay, so a quarter of 240 must be 60. And that's my answer. Next question. 72 guests staying in a hotel. They're French, German or Spanish. Complete the two-way table. Just treat it like a Sudoku puzzle and fill in things that you can. So let's have a look at the French. 17 a female. They've got to add up to 29. So 17 plus 12 makes 29. Okay. I can't do the total of the German going down, but I can look across. Okay, or let's have maybe the Spanish is easier to put in next. 14 plus what gives me 21? Well, that must be 7. Okay, right, let's go across. 17 add 14, right, okay, so that's 20, 31. Okay, so here, if 17 plus 14 is 20, 31, I need another 9 to make 40. Okay, and then 9 plus 13 is 22. So I just need to check that these all add up to 72. So 29, so 9 add 2, 10, 11 add 1 is 12. So that's 2 and a 1. And then 2, 4, 6, and the 1 is 7. So yes, that adds up to 72. Okay, write down the probability that the guest is female. So I need to look, at female. So females are 40 out of the total, which is 72. So it's 40 out of 72. One of the male guests is picked at random. Write down the probability that the male guest is German. So I'm just looking at the male guests. So I'm just looking at this 32 here. Okay, how many are German? Well, 13. So it's 13 out of 30.